Currency differences between Europe and the United States and the impact this is going to have on everyone's future. This presentation is provided by Dana Barfield. When you look at the European map, you see independent nations in proximity to one another, abutting one another right next to one another. And they have aligned themselves under this common currency called the euro. But there are substantial differences between Europe and the U.S. In Europe, each of the nations has its own president or prime minister. It has its own legislature or parliament. Each nation has its own bank, and some of the nations have their own central bank. Each nation is completely independent and completely sovereign from these other nations except for the shared currency called the euro. Now, this shared currency has made trade and travel easy and efficient, and so there have been some benefits up to this point of the shared currency. You look at a map of the United States, it's very similar except for the shape and the size to what the European map is. You have states in proximity to one another, but there's a substantial difference in the states in that the United States has one president. The United States has one Congress or legislature. The United States has one banking system. There is agreement and regulation of the banks under the Federal Reserve. There is cooperation and submission on the part of the states over matters mentioned in the Constitution which attribute federal powers to the national government. Very different than what takes place in the euro. The situation in Europe that presently is taking place highlights the wide disparity between the productive nations that have capital that's productive, that have workers that are productive, and those nations that are primarily bent on tourism or debt or real estate. And so that's why we have this currency problem that exists. Essentially, what has happened is the investors of the world have recognized this disparity, but because of the euro, they're not able to devalue the currency of the nations whose value added is lower. And this is what brings about the possibility that Greece or some of the other nations might exit the euro because devaluation isn't possible any other way. So if you think about it this way, you've got some kids who are out playing in the streets, entertaining themselves and having fun, enjoying the bright sunshine and the fresh air and the seashore and the beach. And you have some kids who are in the classroom studying their lessons, trying to get ahead, producing value added. This little illustration shows the difference between the Greek nations and their partners, if you will, and the productive nations, in that some kids are out playing on the beach, playing tag, cracking the whip, and some kids are in the classroom studying their lessons. And you can't have the kids who are working go along for very long getting the same results as the kids who are playing until there's a problem. And that's the problem that we have in Europe today.